Bang. Are we live? We're live. We're live. What's good? What's good in the hood, homies? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? I told you the fight was going to be postponed. Now, I don't want to come on here and say I told you so. That's wrong. I'm not that kind of person. But I did tell you so. I said, you know what? The fight's postponed. A lot of you, quite a few of you were like, Ade, the title's very clickbaity. The title is very clickbaity. I was like, what's clickbaity about the title? The fight's postponed. Now, 12 hours later, the fight has been postponed. Yeah. Disappointing. All right, it's disappointing. Let's let a few more people get into the live stream, and then we're really going to get into it because I've had enough. I've had enough. I blame a lot of this on Tyson Fury and only Tyson Fury. A lot of this on Tyson Fury. I'm sorry. He has to take the blame. He has to take responsibility. He's the head of his camp. He has to take responsibility. Some of you might say, but it's COVID. I get it. It is COVID. Anything can happen, right? Anyone can catch COVID, but a fight that's worth, I don't know how much this fight's worth, 100 million. I'm sorry, you have to protect the bubble. You have to stay in a bubble, get in a bubble, and that's it. I'm very, very annoyed with Mr. Tyson Fury. You know all of this. I didn't even care. I didn't even care about Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. No, I didn't care about it. I eventually started caring about it. So eventually, I started caring about the fight that I didn't care about. And all of a sudden, the fight that I cared about is now gone. It's gone. I cared about immensely AJ versus Fury. I cared about it more than anything in my life. AJ versus Fury was super important. AJ versus Fury got cancelled so we can see Fury versus Wilder. Fury versus Wilder has now been cancelled. Go figure. Go fucking figure. Let me say that again. AJ versus Fury got cancelled lastminute.com. Lastminute.com so we can get Fury versus Wilder, a fight none of us cared about. Then we all eventually started to care about. And now Fury versus Wilder is canned because of Tyson Fury. Who else? It's his camp. It's his camp that's got COVID. Who else can you blame? Again, he's the head of his camp. Sorry, no one else to blame here. Some of you are saying cancelled or postponed. Mate, it's cancelled until we have a date. We don't have a date yet. There's a date rumored to be in October. It's done. That fight is done. It's off again. Remember, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder first had their second scrap February 2020. It was supposed to happen, the rematch, in August. That got postponed. There were talks about it happening in December. It got postponed because Wilder got injured. Do you know all this? Hopefully you know all this. Fury was then supposed to fight Caballero. Yeah, Fury did not fight Caballero. That fight didn't happen. Didn't happen. Then we wait. Fury AJ, Fury AJ, Fury AJ doesn't happen. Fury Wilder, Fury Wilder, Fury Wilder doesn't happen. What's the common denominator in all of this? The common denominator is Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is the name of all of those guys. I'll say it again. Fury Wilder, Fury Caballero, Fury AJ, Fury Wilder. There's one name that remains the same in all that list. That name is Tyson Fury. That's just fact. That's not me being a wanker or chatting shit. That's just fact. That's the only name that remains the same in all of those cancellations. Feel free to tell me I'm lying. Feel free to say, Ade, shut up. You can't. You can't. You really can't, because that's the name. Say now, this is some bullshit. This is what it is. I feel like I'm going back to old school Ade. This right now, here, is bullshit. It really is. Now, I'm not one of those conspiracy theorists. I'm not going to say things like ticket sales weren't happening. I don't know about all that. All I will say is, in this world of COVID, in a fight that's 2 weeks away, you get into a bubble right? Like the England squad right now, you get into a bubble and you do not come out of it until fight. Until fight day, you do not come out of that bubble. You make sure anyone that enters that bubble is COVID tested. And until they get the results, they can't enter the bubble. And then when it's all said and done, fight day, you go. He has to take responsibility. There's a manager of a fight camp. I don't know who his manager is of the fight camp, but him and Tyson Fury have to take responsibility for this because it's nonsense. Absolute bullshit. Nonsense. Never been so fucking annoyed with Tyson Fury and that whole crap in my life. It's just nonsense. All right, let's go through. Let's say hello to everyone. Hello, people. Hello. I'm just thoroughly annoyed. And by the way, yesterday I was saying, I was speaking to someone and they were telling me it was 95.5. I can now tell you that person was Mike Coppinger. Mike Coppinger was the person that I was DMing on Twitter and asking what's going on. He was the one that said it's 95.5. I just felt like I don't really want to say his name until it's now confirmed. It's now confirmed. I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying it's him. He's the one that says 95.5. Yeah. Christopher Klaus says this just goes on and on. You know, the thing is about this, it goes on as well. Boxing, yeah, like we love boxing. Everyone in this live right now is a hardcore boxing fan, right? You don't spend Friday night listening to me if you're not. Boxing is very much, I love the sport of boxing. Trust me, I wouldn't do this if I didn't. But boxing has 8-level events, right? So it has big events, but really and truly, it's sort of a second tier B-level sport. It is, right? It's not NFL, American football. It's not football. It's not basketball. It's not that. It could easily become an A-level sport with them if it just gave us the fucking fights we crave. It doesn't, because of politics, because of broadcasters. It has dodgy belts. There's so much shit. If it gave us the fights we wanted, boxing would become, like it used to when I was young, a front page and back page sport. It isn't anymore. There are some events that will give you front page and back page stories. Like if AJ were to fight Fury, that's doing that. But most of the time, it's not that. If it gave us Spence Crawford, the so-called 4 kings in the lightweight division, even this Fury Wilder fight, if it gave us the fights we craved, like there was a time when I was screaming for Yard versus Boazzi. We ain't never, let me just tell you now, we're never seeing Yard versus Boazzi. 2 light heavyweight Brits in this country, it ain't never happening. How many of the light heavies in this country, just take this country as an example, how many good light heavies are there in this country that are not mixing it with each other? We can't even get them to fight. Boxing's hurting itself as a sport. And that's why boxing won't be a top tier sport. That's why 99% of boxers get paid shit and the 1% get paid very well. In fact, I'll say, scrap that. 99.5% of boxers get paid shit and 0.5% get paid very, very well, because it's not a top tier sport, because it's not giving the fans what they want. And eventually the fans tune out until a really big fight happens. You can change the casuals to hardcores if you give the casuals what they want, but you don't. You can't even make, you can't make Wilder Fury. You can't make Wilder Fury. And it's not just now I'm talking about with the Wilder Fury situation. I'm not just moaning about it now. Wilder Fury, the second fight, happened February 2020. This is July 2021, and the trilogy fight hasn't happened. It's 1.5 years later, man. That's boxing. That's boxing for you. And there are people here celebrating that AJ Fury didn't happen as though it's a win. It's not a win. It's a loss for the sport. AJ Fury not happening is a loss for boxing. Some people, and look, I love my boy CRB, and he was right in the end because it didn't happen, but you can't celebrate that not happening. I wanted that to happen for the love of the sport, for the sport to grow. Shit, AJ Fury's happening. Let's all celebrate. People were like, almost like, it's not happening. Like, that's a win. How is that a win? It's a loss. Because boxing will remain a B-level sport until we fucking get the real fights we want. Pardon my French. People get excited the other day about Gervonta Davis fighting Barrios. Gervonta Davis, if you're going to go up to 140, fight a real name. Like, do you really think you're going to get Gervonta Davis, Josh Taylor? That's happening. Do you think that's happening? Or Javonte Davis says, I want to fight Ryan Garcia. Javonte Davis is fighting again in October. Do you really think it's going to be one of Loma, Tank, Ryan, Prograde, Taylor, Mikey? Of course it isn't. And that's the problem with boxing. Boxing sometimes is full of fucking shit. Absolutely full of shit. Ravel Evans says, probably Fury up to his usual city games, trying to get into Wilder's head. No, it's not. Fight's not happening. What's this one? Tube Faddy says, I've known for a while that these are two of the biggest clowns in boxing. These circus acts will hold the green belt hostage for years unless the WBC actually steps up for once, but they won't. Let me adding on to that, by the way, the heavyweight champion of the world, when I was young, in my younger days, you're the heavyweight champion of the world is the pinnacle of boxing. Like, it got so fucked up in the, pardon my French, I need to stop swearing. It got so messed up in the 90s and 2000s that the pinnacle of the sport became Roy Jones Jr. and then eventually Oscar and Floyd and Manny. But when I was young, it was Mike Tyson. And before that, people will go back and say Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali. The man in boxing was the heavyweight. Tyson Fury is the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. He's not had a fight for a year and a half. The number one, he should be the number one draw in the sport. He's not had a fight for a year and a half. Go figure. Go figure. Now, I don't know if this one's his fault. COVID came into camp, he can't fight. But that's not the point. The point is the number one attraction in this sport is the heavyweight champ of the world. The heavyweight champ of the world is not fought for a year and a half. Don't say COVID because everyone's fought during this COVID period. Fights have happened. Joke thing. It's a fucking joke thing. S. Morgan says, and who is shocked? Fury has been ducking this work for months. So how or why would this be shocking? It's shocking because it's happened 2 weeks before the fight's supposed to happen. That's what's shocking. I'm shocked. That's why I'm raging, because I'm shocked. I'm shocked. You might not be shocked. I'm shocked. This is 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the fight. 2 weeks. Christopher Klaus says, I'm curious how this will play out. I'm very curious as well. I need to read a bit more about this arbitration case with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Like, when does that run out? When is Tyson Fury supposed to? What's the cutoff date as to when he can't or doesn't have to fight Wilder again? I need to know, because I'm telling you now, Wilder's lawyers are looking into this as well. Rooney AMUF6 says, hey, it was still Ade's clickbaiting. They will. They will. And I'm not. I'll take this one. I'm going to take this one. Ade was right. Yeah, it was. I'll take it. I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you. Who's this? Shoei Yabunda says, good evening, Ade. Good evening. Good evening. Adil Shakut says, I came to the video late. No, you're nice and early. We could go on and on today. We could go on and on. Who's this? Evening. Evening. Off the canvas boxing says, Ade, breathe. I feel you're about to tear Fury a new arsehole. You know what it is? I don't even know if this is Fury's fault, but I can only go on your receipts, your back catalog. You can only go on that with anyone in life. And this is not just a Fury thing. This is anyone in life. It's like when people cry wolf, you can only go on it. And I can only go on what's happened with this Fury situation since the rematch with Vladimir Klitschko, which he didn't take at the time, and then obviously went into depression, which we don't wish on anyone, right? But since then, like how Fury has got away with fighting Tom Schwartz, it is beyond me. How people have just accepted this. And even Otto Volin, who I thought put up a good performance, but people have accepted that, yeah, from the lineal champion. And then we have this Caballero fiasco, which I don't know what happened. Does anyone know what happened with this Caballero fight that was supposed to happen? Does anyone know what happened? I have absolutely no idea. I heard rumors about this. I have no idea. And then, okay, cool. And then it becomes this AJ thing, yeah? AJ, and we're all getting excited. Fury himself announces it. Not AJ. AJ didn't announce it. Eddie Hearn was talking, granted. AJ didn't say anything. Fury announced it. Yeah, I just spoke to the Prince of Saudi Arabia nonsense, and the fight's on. 3 days. In fact, that's a lie. 2 days later, he's fighting Deontay Wilder. and he's running around the ESPN studio signing it, saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. 2 weeks before the fight is on, the fight's off. That's receipts. That, ladies and gentlemen, is receipts. This is another thing as well. What happens with the whole card? This is a great shout from Comrade Boxing. Shout out, subscribe to his channel if he's got one. Just for that piece of gold there. Was a great heavyweight card. F.A. Jabba was supposed to fight Frank Sanchez. Helenius was supposed to have his rematch with Kalnaki, or should I say Kalnaki was supposed to have his rematch with Helenius. You know what the worst thing is as well? I even lost a gig. Say that now. Shouldn't say that, but I'm going to tell you that. I lost a gig. So TalkSport had the rights. I don't know if you guys know this, but you should know this. TalkSport had the rights to Wilder Fury. So they're going to send out Adam Cattrall and the rest to cover it. So I was then going to cover Adam Cattrall and do a live show from Wembley to cover Joe Joyce, Carlos Taka. So that was my gig. Me, Spencer Oliver, and someone else. Obviously now they can't do that. Obviously Adam Cattrall's back to do his gig. So does Fury cost me money as well? Cost me money. Motherfucker. Oh, this is all jokes. G-Man's in the building. G-Man in the building, boy. Says, as the legendary John Rowan once said, oh dear, dear, dear. Sad, isn't it? Matt says, when you look back at it, he's done this a few times. Chisora 2, Vlad 2, etc. Yeah. This one, I'm not sure about. I'm not going to say this. I don't agree with this, Comrade Box. I don't agree that Fury is fraud. I just feel like if it is COVID, my point is, I'm sorry, you've got to protect your bubble a bit more, a bit better than that. Because that's my only thing with Fury. I can't say it's a fraud because at the end of the day, he goes in and does something that I would not do. He's a fighting man, goes in the ring and fights, but it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good on him. Adil Shakut says Fury went from clowning Hay for pulling out to him being a pull-out merchant. Interesting. Forgot about that. Ryan Graham says, wait, so we avoid the biggest fight that can be made for no reason, another big win for boxing. This is what I think I'm getting really angry about. It's because of that. Like AJ Fury was cancelled to make Fury Wilder. And now we're not getting Fury Wilder. Now, look, this could all just be unfortunate circumstances. That happens. It could just be a set of unfortunate circumstances. But the problem we have as boxing fans is that although I think the first half of this year has been pretty good with fights, we don't get what we want. So when we do get a big fight, we get overly excited for it because we're fed crumbs. So when we get a loaf of bread or even a slice of bread, like, give me that. And then when that gets snatched from you, you feel like, okay, I'm back to the crumbs again. If we kept on getting slices of bread, pardon the analogy here, but if we kept on getting slices of bread, we wouldn't be as upset if one went away. We wouldn't be as upset. But when we don't get the fights we want, we don't get the fights we really fucking want, and then you do get one that you're excited for, and it gets taken away. Think about we've lost 2 big heavyweight fights that I thought were done and dusted in the space of a month. I thought AJ Fury was done. I made so many videos saying it's done. That got taken away from us, right? The rug got pulled from underneath us. And then I thought, okay, if we're not getting that, at least we get Fury Wilder. Rug pulled from underneath us. AJ Usyk's not been announced yet. What's Dillian White doing? Who's he fighting in America? Are we going to get Chisora Parker again? Does anyone want to see Chisora Parker again? I wouldn't mind it. It's a heavyweight scrap, but not ideal. That's the issue right now, people. That is the issue right now. Alex Calucci says, been bored of boxing for a while. Same old bollocks. I'm done. No, Alex, don't go. Don't go. Stay, Alex. Boxing will come back to its best. I promise you. It's going to come back. It has to come back. We're not going to accept this anymore. We're not going to accept this anymore. It's annoying. It will come back. Tyrese Boo, super chat. Really appreciate Tyrese. Is it Bluey? Apologies. I said blue. Apologies. Maybe because it is blue. A Wilder has to speak it, believe it, receive it, laughing out. Oh, God. Mm. All right, let me just read loads. Super chat here from Garcia Boxing and the World. Cheers, cheers, my man. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm gonna put it up. I can see it here, so I just read it, but I'll put it up once I see it on the screen. But really appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, this is interesting. OSAS 201 says, strip Fury, please. Make Wilder versus White fight for it. Interesting. A few people, I've seen that in this comment section below. A few people are saying things like Wilder versus White because Eddie Hearn has said that White, although not 100% ready, will step in, talk. It's just talk. Come on, you guys know how this works now. It ain't going to happen. Wilder is not fighting Dillian White. At least not next. It's just not going to happen. You train for a Fury. You're not going to then accept Dillian White. You can't. You've trained for a style specifically since that man beat you. So all he's trained for Wilder in the last 16 to 17 months is Tyson Fury. All of a sudden, you have a wrecking machine like Dillian White to prepare for in 2 weeks. You don't take that. Dillian White almost has nothing to lose. He'll roll the dice and do it. Deontay Wilder has a lot to lose, so he's not going to do that. So don't fall into the, oh, yeah, but White would fight on 2 weeks' notice. It's not it doesn't work like that, does it, really? Oh, man. Amandeep Johal says, good evening, Ade. Chill out. I can't. Pissed off. Ang Class says, has Fury ever had a title defense? No. The answer to that is no. Luke McConney says, oh, boxing, let down after let down after let down. It is just annoying, isn't it? It really is. I mean, some of these things are just, maybe we're just unlucky, but even Anthony Yard not fighting this weekend. I think his opponent pulled out with an injury. I think Yard pulled out of a fight in March. I mean, I love the sport. So, I'm stuck with it just because I love it and I love watching fights. But if you're someone that is on the edge, like, you kind of like boxing, but you don't, and then you try and explain to someone why Tyson Fury hasn't fought for a year and a half and why we might not see AJ versus Fury. You just try to explain to someone all the politics and all the crap. You'd fucking need a university course. You'd need a degree. Alex Cavalucci says, heavyweight division is a sad state when you can't get unifications and undisputed. Very. Very. Damn, no wonder David, few out here taking food out your mouth. Ain't that bad. We're all right. All right. Oh, this is quite a strong one. Joe's back. Joe Lasisi, who says, I'm a Wilder fanboy back in the day, says, Fury is a total, utter fraud. Please don't make any excuses for that con artist. Well, there is COVID. COVID's probably a valid excuse. I just feel like the problem is with Fury is that he's had previous. So now, although COVID could be a valid excuse, because he's had previous, it's like, I don't give a fuck about COVID, And the worst thing about all this, it isn't like I'm guessing Fury is asymptomatic. Is that the right term? So he's not even feeling the effects because he had the vaccine anyway. But the worst thing is, it's not like they just move it to the next week or the week after, because they have to go through the schedule and they have to make sure it doesn't clash with anything. And then remember, these aren't boxing arenas; these are arenas. So these are arenas that can be used by musicians and comedians. So you have to look at, okay, when's that arena not being used again, and when is it not clashing with college basketball or UFC or anything else on that day that could take eyes off the sport. And then it's like, okay, anything in August? Oh, can't do it that day because Manny Pacquiao's fighting Errol. Okay, next. Anything there? Oh, might not be able to do it that day because, something else is going on October. So it's not like This fight can be postponed a couple of weeks. October. Do you know how far away October sounds? We're in July. Man, they're talking October. What's this one? Macdara Obiara says, and people wonder why the UFC is overtaking boxing. Unfortunately, that might be a true statement, right? It might be a true statement, and it's more obviously MMA overtaking than the UFC, but obviously UFC being the biggest promoter in MMA. But you get the fights we want. This weekend, I'm doing the live watch along. The biggest name in combat sports is fighting this weekend. No issues. He's fighting Dustin Poirier. The weigh-in was today. He's okay. That's happening this weekend. That's going to do great numbers. Goes on to say this. Stephen kind of follows up, says, look at the UFC continuing to put on big fights, even through lockdown. This shit just never ends with boxing. It never does, peeps. Well, let's hope that, I don't know, man. Let's just hope that. Oh, I can't even talk right now. I'm so upset. Just reading. I'm just going to get some comments up. 2 secs. This is an interesting one. A few people have said this. Christian who? No, or whatever. Do you think that Fury actually has COVID? I think Fury faked the results to buy time. To buy time for what? I don't. Again, I can imagine like all the conspiracy theorists are going to come out, and rightly so. Until we hear from Tyson Fury, I saw someone say something that Tyson Fury said he's going to retire. I don't know where we are, but look, all the conspiracy theorists are rightly so going to come out of the woodwork now, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Articulate Design says, I mean, it's awful and frustrating, but imagine if this same situation played out. Had Fury versus AJ actually been scheduled to fight for the Undisputed? I'm not sure I could handle that. If Fury versus AJ was signed and a COVID case broke out, I'm sorry to say this, and I hope that no medical expert in the chat are going to get upset. That shit gets covered up. It's too big. Imagine if everyone has flown out to Saudi Arabia. Like, you're talking hundreds of millions, hundreds. I don't even know what number. And then the fight gets canned because of someone in the camp has COVID. Again, if that someone is not Tyson Fury, but it's someone in Tyson Fury's camp and Tyson Fury is okay, that person will self-isolate. Fury AJ will continue. Fact, right? Fact. I don't think anyone disputes that. I don't think anyone can dispute that. We'll see. I don't remember this one. Fury even faked on Ustinov. Oh my God, he did. Oh my God, he did flake on Ustinov. When was that for again? I remember it. I remember the face-off. You remember that? All right, no, 1 second. These are now receipts. I completely forgot the Ustinov. Who said this? Show me your bunda. Brother, sister, whoever you are correct. Receipts. Adewale says ESPN and Fox will not allow a white step in for such a huge event. Don't fall for Eddie Hearn's okie dokie. No, I definitely don't fall for it. That's why I just mentioned it as well, by the way. Definitely don't fall for it. Ade, Fury on one side can be a hero. Arbitration deadline was September 15th, and he tried to pull out before. He may try to pull out and fight AJ, and it'll be in everyone's good books. Wishful thinking. Nah. Tell you now, like the people behind Deontay Wilder, ain't happening. Shelley Finkel and them man there, that ain't happening. The lawyers will be on that already. What's this one? Addy, why are you only highlighting comments that support this boxing is letting us down? Highlight ones that confirm Fury is a fraud. Dude, whose show is this? Who is this Joe Lasisi? You're advising me what to do on my own YouTube channel. The cheek of you, brother. The cheek of you. Levon, UFC talk with A. Boy, doing it tomorrow. Oh, what's this one? Ade, Fury got dropped badly in training camp. Jared Anderson. Interesting. Hey. Don't know. I still don't think that would derail this. Unless it was very bad, like knocked out. If you're just talking dropped and got up, then but if you're talking knocked out, cold, but we do hear so many sparring sessions. So sparring stories. So I don't know sometimes which ones to believe. Billy Hamilton says, I'm a big Fury fan, but man, I'm disappointed in Tyson. Something is going on here. That's the problem, isn't it? It does feel like something's happening. Because unless, and I've not checked this, by the way, Tyson's the kind of person to say something in the Insta story. Has Tyson said anything on his Insta? Let's have a look. Sorry, guys, just checking. And girls, because Tyson's normally the kind of person that will leave a video and either apologize, say he's okay, something. You know how it works. No, all that's come up is something about merchandise. Nice. It's nice of him, isn't it? Nice of him. What's this one? Adam Beanie Smith, mate, do every subscriber a favor and block Jo. Nah, he's all right. He's all right. What's this one? SOS says COVID is no excuse when you're in camp. They should be the safest people, testing, vaccine bubbles, etc. No, that's my thing as well. And I'm so happy you said that. That's my thing. I don't want to hear COVID is an excuse. Remember, this isn't a camp of 80 people where it's difficult to manage. You know, this should be a boxing camp when you take sparring partners into it, management, trainers, no more than maximum. You don't need more than 12 people in camp, max. That should be able, you'd be able to control that bubble easy. That should be an easy bubble to control, but evidently not, which is why I think suspicions are very high. Noah Black says, Addy, with the UFC success, do you see it surpassing boxing? Nah, I love the UFC. I love MMA, but not for me. Boxing still, like, if boxing gets its act together, boxing is still incredible. Nothing for me beats a big boxing event. Nothing. And boxing's got the opportunity to make so many good events, so many good fights, right? I mean, even when you saw Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders, I was watching it on the Zone app and it looked incredible. I remember thinking, this is incredible. And boxing does that. I don't really get that from many UFC events anymore. So I'm not sure. This one. Big Nasher. Evening, big man. Evening, brother. Evening. James Burrell says, some say the tickets weren't moving. I tend to believe it since I personally couldn't find a fuck to give about that fight. If they do White versus Wilder, take my money. I do know someone reached out to me, I think it was yesterday, when it still was tickets on sale, and said that like there were so many tickets available. Like it was easy. You could literally, there wasn't no stress to buy a ticket. And I do wonder if the appetite just wasn't there for it this time round, for a number of reasons. Firstly, how the second fight played out. Right? And then it's taken so long to make the third fight. I just feel like there was no hunger for it. And then the press conference was pretty weird. Wilder didn't say anything. Fury tried to sell it himself. And it's difficult if you haven't got a dance partner. The stare down did something. I was excited for the stare down, but that was really it. So I'm not sure. Maybe. Where's CRB at? Anyone know where CRB at? Adil Shakur says boxing always makes a comeback when you think it's done. Yeah. Look, boxing ain't done. No. I definitely ain't even saying that or speaking like that. Boxing is here. I mean, again, like it's been a decent first half of the year. The second half of the year, we got some good matchups. I mean, we got Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence in what, a month's time. Got some good fights coming up, man. We've got some good fights. Like the next Josh Taylor fight's going to be a decent one just because it's undisputed. It'll be exciting. It'll be exciting to see what Crawford does. We've got Chocolatito versus Estrada, which is a purist fight, really good fight. There's a women's super series coming up, which I think is going to be exciting for the females as well. Nigel Benn, Conor Benn's fighting Granados. I love to see Conor Benn fight. So we've got enough. I just want more. I'm greedy. I want more. I want more. And fingers crossed, we've got AJ versus Usyk, which should be really special. I mean, talk about special fights. That one should be really good. Nick Mandelberg says pullout has nothing to do with COVID. Lost all respect for Fury again. Boxing is slipping. UFC always consistent. A lot of Fury fans are saying this. This is it right now. A lot of and Fury does have a lot of fans, by the way. A lot of them are disappointed. And I think the thing with Fury is, and I forgot about the Ustinov one. There's just a lot of pullouts in his career. Like so many. There's at least 5 or 6, which is a lot. Like 5 or 6 is a lot. That's a lot, you know. Like, geez. Anyway, I think that's a huge amount, but I don't know. Ali Talhouni says, "How do you fake COVID results?" Don't ask me, bro. But this is the world. You can fake absolutely everything, I think. Good evening, Addy. This is from Ada12. Good evening, Addy. The problem with boxing is too many cooks spoil the broth. Dana White has UFC on lock. Yeah, that is a big problem with boxing. Too many cooks in the kitchen. Far too many cooks in the kitchen. Like even this AJ Fury fight, which was close. How many cooks in that kitchen? How many broadcasters? ESPN, DAZN, Sky Sports, BT Sports. Four broadcasters, number one. Even though that got sorted out, but still 4 broadcasters, managers, promoters. Too many cooks in the kitchen. I guess that's why. But then in the same time, I think Dana White, like I don't think the UFC fighters will thank Dana White for what he does. We as fans, we love Dana White because he gives us the fight. But it almost feels like the UFC fighters are getting underpaid, and Dana White knows because he has almost like a dictatorship there. He's got a monopoly on the sport. He pays the best, and it's like take this or go, and the fighters take it. So I don't know. I don't want it to be as much and as strict as the UFC, but almost we kind of meet it halfway. Sorry, I am trying to. I promise you, I'm trying to read as many comments as possible, but you guys know that there is a lot coming through. Hey Dharma Moose says, "Are you doing a watch long to Joyce Tackham though?" No, I'm not doing that. Rowan Perry says Fury does have some marking under his eye and on his cheek. Maybe he isn't on point and Camp has gone wrong. Maybe. You just don't know, do you? This is it. We do not know. And look, again, Tyson Fury is the type of person, I think we all know this, always jumps on social media to like either explain something or announce something. This is the big fight that's now not happened. And I would have expected Tyson Fury to have said something on his social medias. Like, especially if it is COVID. That's not a problem. Just, guys, super sorry about this COVID, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get it on. I'm going to smash the dosser, the big dosser, the bronze bomber in October. Apologies. Anyone that's bought tickets, something along those lines. We've not got that. So you kind of feel like there's a bit more than meets the eye behind the scenes. Fire Rises says Fury likes winning belts. He gets bored after that. You shouldn't get bored after that because there's winning belts and there's making money. Even when Fury won his belts previously, he wasn't making money. He didn't make great amount of money with Vladimir Klitschko. Didn't. You make the money after when you defend the belts and make big fights. He's in a position now, Tyson Fury, and maybe the money isn't his thing, but he's in a position now where he can make so much money. I mean, you think about it. Imagine going from Wilder to AJ, the amount of money you're making. I mean, you could easily say he could make 100 million from both of those fights, like combined. So he's chased now should be legacy and money. And I do think he wants to go down as one of the best heavyweights. Clearly not going to do that because he simply doesn't fight enough, but that should be chase right now. Karma Box and MMA says Fury's going to retire. No, I think there's too much money in the sport left for him to retire. But again, I understand why he would say that. Someone asking me, Christopher Klaus, Sam, what's going on Italy versus England? I'm thinking England, but I'm going to say that. But we'll talk for a bit later. Not today, actually. Not for this. This is not a day for football. This is a day for anger. What's this? In the Conor press conference, someone from the crowd said to him, "The last time you won a fight, Obama was in office." Well, that's not true because he beat Cowboy Cerrone, and yeah, so that's obviously incorrect. Jay Jansen, so tired of boxing. Sometimes we get no fights. We tell as boxing fans, we get nothing. Usyk and AJ can't even sign. Even British fighters. So even British fighters, no big fights coming up. And I don't count in fight camp. Man, people are upset. People are upset right now. Weird, isn't it? It's almost like this is the straw that seems to have broken the camel's back. Like even Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence. Look, I'm gonna watch it. It's a good fight. Spence Crawford. Don't give me Pac-Man Spence. Don't give me. And look, I like Pac-Man. I've watched him his whole career, well, not his whole career, but majority of his career. I don't want to see Pac-Man Spence. I want to see Spence Crawford. Give me Spence Crawford. Don't feed me the second or third best option. Give me the first best option. And then take my money because I'll pay for it. And this is the thing, right? People, as much as I know a lot of you fuckers illegally stream, a lot of you would pay for the product if the product was good. And this is what they've got to understand, all the broadcasters. People will pay if the product is good. Hence why when Conor fights in the UFC, it does crazy pay-per-view numbers because the product is good. You get a good build-up, you get a good fight, you get good post-fight press conferences, and you feel like, take my money. When you don't get a good product, you try and find an illegal stream. When you don't get good product, you stop watching the sport. Mark K says, Addy, was it this bad in the 90s? I'll say this, I'll tell you this. Over here, I remember, obviously, I was a kid. You're making me sound like I'm bloody 60. I remember, obviously, that the Nigel Benn, the Chris Eubank Jr. and Chris Eubank Jr. Senior and the Prince Nassim Hamed fights. I'll tell you this, Prince Nassim Hamed, for a long period, but Chris Eubank Senior definitely didn't fight the greats. You know what I mean? But it didn't matter because you felt like you were seeing them fight. So I don't know how good the 90s was. In America, the 90s was very good. Very, very good for boxing. It was, in fact, it was elite. Some of the matchups were incredible. Incredible. But stop asking me questions like that. I'm not 100. Jake Walker says the tickets were way too expensive and priced out the common fan. $350 for the worst seats. You ain't paying that. You ain't paying that. I'm sorry. Even though they're good undercard, you're not paying that. Maybe that might have been a problem, because when I think of Fury Wilder, they're getting paid top dollar. But I'll tell you this now, Frank Sanchez and F.A. Jagba are getting paid well as well. Kaunaki and Helenius are definitely getting paid well. So you do start to think maybe this was going to be a loss for them, a bit of a flop, because you've got to pay all that. It's a lot of big heavyweights to pay big money to. Again, I'm not quite sure. Sega Socks says, I don't have any more hair to pull out. Look at me. Look at me, blood. It's all gone. This is what boxing's done to me. This ain't age. This ain't stress life. This is boxing. This is boxing. This is boxing right there. What's this one? Gareth Craddock says nobody out there can call themselves a legit heavyweight champ right now. It's been too long. In a perfect world, we could hit a reset button and make them all fight eliminators. In a perfect world, they'll all join a World Boxing Super Series. In a perfect world, we'll put the top 8 heavyweights in a World Boxing Super Series. So you would have Wilder, Fury, AJ Usyk, Dillian White, Andy Ruiz, Hergovich. One more. Who's that one? Would you have Joe Joyce in it? Would you have Michael Hunter as the one more? Would you have Parker as the one more? What's that one more? Andy Ruiz. Did I say Andy Ruiz already? I can't remember if I said Andy Ruiz already. I can't remember. But that's what you do in an ideal world. Carl Green says, COVID my ass. Bollocks. No one believes it. No one believes it. Good evening. The problem with boxing is too many. Oh, we read that already. Jeez. Jake Danson, we never get big fights. I'm sorry, we don't. We nothing. Damn. That's how people are feeling right now, boy. Shay Turnbull said Fury gets way too many free passes by people. Don't forget he had 2 farcical fights before Wilder 2, one of which he was lucky to win. I'm so happy you said that, Shay, because I do believe he gets a pass. And maybe it's because he went to Dusseldorf and fought Vladimir Klitschko. Maybe it's because he went to America and fought Wilder twice. And that does give you a lot of credit in the bank, a lot of credit. But yeah, it's weird with Fury because I enjoy watching his fights. I've come on here a few times and said, like, I think he beats AJ. Like, Fury excites me when he fights. I think he's a good fighter, but he gets a lot of passes, a lot. I think again we sometimes sweep under the carpet the drug test issue. Gets a lot. You can't even ask him a question about it. It's like, how dare you? How dare you talk about that? Gets a lot of passes, man. Somebody says, Ade, if AJ had same excuses as Fury, what do you think is going to happen? Cancel. He'll be cancelled. If AJ did this, he'll be cancelled. What's this one? Ali Telhouni says, I hope this isn't because of a mental health issue Fury is dealing with. We don't know. And that's the danger, right? With this, we don't know. Because Fury says it's something that he continually deals with. It's not like it stops. He continually deals with it and tries to get over it. I hope it's not as well. I really do. Look, he's a fighter. That's one thing he does. He fights. And he gets paid when he uses these. He's not used this since February 2020. So he's going to be upset about the situation as well. As much as we are, there's no way Fury can't be upset about not fighting. But again, he has to take some sort of responsibility for it. This one. Bro, well, they're a bit late. Are you telling me it's taking Fury fans only now to see it? I don't know. Darren in Sweden says, could it be positive for unification belt if AJ does tackle Usyk late in September? Can I be honest with you, Darren in Sweden? We were this close. Can you see that? This close. Can you see that? It's like that close. We were that close to AJ Fury. That close. If it can't happen and we're that close, it ain't happening. That's my feeling on AJ Fury right now. I thought it was done. You guys laugh at me all the time when I say I was about to make a documentary for TalkSport. It's true. I thought the fight was done and it couldn't happen. So if it was done, money was agreed, contracts signed, and it still couldn't happen, then I'm not holding my breath. I'm not holding my breath. What's this? Jake Jansen, again, Jake Jansen's pissed off, by the way, people. What big fights do we have? I mean, massive fights, not good fights. I mean, massive fights. We don't get anything. We just, as boxing fans, we know we get nothing. Is Pacquiao Spence not a massive fight? I'm guessing that doesn't pass as a massive fight for you. Canelo versus Caleb Plant, massive fight. For me, it's a big fight. Big fight. Maybe not massive. But how many in the sport of boxing right now? It's boxing's got to be careful because in my head I'm thinking, how many massive fights are there? Like in terms of true appease the casual fans, bring in a new audience. How many real big fights are there that do that? I don't even know if Errol Spence, Terence Crawford does that. The only one that 100% does that is AJ versus Fury. That's why boxing's in a very strange place right now, because we shouldn't. There's too many fighters for there to be only one big fight that moves the needle. AJ Fury moves the needle. AJ Wilder moves the needle as well. But there are other fights that are massive to us boxing fans. Like, you can take my money right now for Wilder versus Dillian White. Take my money. I take it. How much? 100. Take it. Here it is. Go. Take my money. So there are some fights like that. Teofimo Lopez versus Lomachenko right now. Take my money again. Take it. Teofimo Lopez versus Gervonta Davis. Now, take everything in my bank. Not everything. That's stupid. Not everything. A lot. Take it. So there are some fights that excite me. There are some fights. Josh Taylor versus Mikey Garcia. Take my money. Take it. Do you know what I mean? There are some. There are some. Team Ruben Villa. That must be Ruben Villa. That has to be Team Ruben Villa. Guys, you know Ruben Villa, fourth world title. Unfortunately, come up short. Go and check him out if you don't know of him. I think he's got a fight coming up, you know. I think he's got a fight coming up. Base, if you're watching, I saw your super chat, Base, but it's gone. Don't be upset for me not reading it out. I saw it. Just send me a question again. Base, send me a text and I'll read it out. Joe Lasisi, super chat. Appreciate it, Joe. You know, especially considering that, you know, we didn't get off to a good footing. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Fury only has mental health issues when he's trying to pull out fights or when he's failed PED test. Very convenient. I ain't going there. I ain't going there. You can't get me cancelled, Joe. I've just stepped into this broadcast world. You can't get me cancelled. Don't get me cancelled, Joe. Is that what you're trying to do? Super chat here from Michael Poe says, Hillary is either sick or the tickets are selling tickets or sick, but he's certainly not afraid of Wilder. He called him Hillary, you know. I don't care how much of a liar Fury is. Yeah, okay, all right, cool. No, it's okay. So Fury is either sick or the tickets aren't selling. But I'm with you. He's not afraid of Wilder. Okay, I understand what you're saying. No. Tyson Fury's not scared of Deontay Wilder. Like, Deontay Wilder fans are going to take this as some sort of win. There is no way Tyson Fury is scared of Deontay Wilder. Like, Tyson Fury is not scared of your man. How would you be scared of a man you've beaten twice? And he did win the first fight. You can't be scared of a man you beat twice. No chance. I think he's either sick or, again, there is an issue with ticket sales. That's the only thing. Ivan Thomas says, us boxing fans have allowed it to get to this point. I think we need to hold IFL responsible to ask the questions on why these fights aren't happening. This is why us hardcores respect Rob Tebbett. Yeah, look, Rob's a fantastic interviewer. Like, me and Rob, obviously, I know Rob very, very well. We get on. He's very, very good. And I respect him a lot. All right. Okay, Base the Kid. I missed these super chat. Just text me. He has my number. Somehow this will still be AJ and Eddie Hearn's fault. somehow the Matchroom haters will say this is something to do with AJ and Eddie, but clearly not AJ and Eddie's fault in this instance. You know, the thing is, it's not even a case of Coogan asking the tough questions, Ivan. We understand the issue. The issue are there are too many broadcasters. The issue are these fighters don't seem to want to work with different broadcasters. That's just it now. It's that simple. I mean, this isn't rocket science. This is what happens in boxing. We know it now. And you know, another problem, and look, I'm all for fighters getting paid. You know, fighters now more than ever know their worth. But I do think some of them overinflate their worth and will not take a fight now unless it's paying crazy money. It's got to be paying crazy money. And if fighter A wants crazy money, fighter B wants crazy money, then the fight can only happen if it's on pay-per-view. If it isn't on pay-per-view, we're not going to see it. And then obviously, if someone like Eddie back in the day puts it on pay-per-view, we'll moan and say, that's not a pay-per-view fight, which is what we do, right? That's not pay-per-view. That's rubbish. Then the only way we can pay those people is if they're on pay-per-view. Okay, take Chisora versus Parker as a good example. Some of you would have said that's not a pay-per-view fight, and I actually agree with you. It's not a pay-per-view fight, but Chisora would have wanted decent money, so would have Joseph Parker. You can only pay them if it's on pay-per-view, but then obviously we would scream. So I think fighters, in a sense, are holding back the sport as well. But I feel stupid saying it because I want them to get paid, but I sometimes feel like they're getting paid too much. Like some of the numbers we're hearing, I think, are incredible, and I'm like, you ain't even done shit yet. It's my opinion. So that's what I feel like. Some of the fighters, I feel like you ain't done nothing to deserve that, but I'm not the one going in there risking my life every time. So, you know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. Going back to some of the massive fights, Adil Shakut says Canelo versus Saunders was massive, and says Pacquiao versus Spence is massive. I don't know if Pacquiao versus Spence is massive, but it's a big fight. Joe Lasisi needs to calm down. Adi will conveniently ignore the super chat. I read your super chat. Dude, please. You know what you can do for me, Joe? Have a drink. Go and pour yourself something. If you don't drink, go and get a nice cold water with loads of ice and cool down. I will read it. That's what I do. But as you can see, we're getting quite a lot. We're getting quite a lot, which I'm happy with. I love all the questions coming in. But it's not that easy, Joe, to read them all. But we will get them done. I promise you. What's this one? Gareth Craddock says, I stopped watching IFL when every video became an hour long minimum. Have to wade through all the chummy stuff, not my scene. I don't mind the IFL sit downs with Eddie. I feel like I get a lot of information out of them just because they have a relationship where Eddie seems to open up a lot. So I don't mind it. Big super chat here from my brother Ben Odom. As always, brother, thank you so much. Says, the problem with boxing is, Ade, myself and the boxing fans, we should show our dislike for these bum events and bouts by not purchasing weak pay-per-view. This will force great fights to happen. Yeah. I don't think we understand I don't think boxing fans understand the power they have. Like, if you're a football fan, hopefully a lot of you guys will understand what I'm going to say right now. The European Super League. Remember that? The European Super League was going to happen 4 or 5 months ago. Fans rioted. Fans went mad. They went on the streets. They protested. They went outside their stadiums. They went mad. Liverpool were going to play Manchester United. Manchester United fans went onto Old Trafford. They had to cancel the game. In the end, Super Six collapsed. Just like that. In 24 hours, Super Six collapsed. The clubs were due to make millions, hundreds of millions. The fans were like, you're not taking our sport from us. Collapsed. We as boxing fans, we just go on Twitter. Or we do what I'm doing right now. We make videos. We don't really make our voices heard the way in which we'll force change. We just accept. We've become very accepting crowd rather than want. We're like, it's not the best, but it's okay. Oh, it's not Javonte versus, Javonte's down to 140. Who is he fighting? Is he fighting Prograis? Mikey? Oh, he's fighting Barrios. Who's Barrios? He's unbeaten. Oh, it's his first fight at 140, so it's okay. We've just become an accepting bunch. And that's the problem. We just accept anything. Here, have that. Have that. What is it? It's Pink Lady. Oh, it's not champagne. No, but it tastes like champagne. That's what we've become. That's what we've become. Nonsense. What's this one? Jayesh from India says, Ade, I'm so hurt and upset. I was counting down the days till this fight. Tired of all the politics and getting excited and then let down over and over. Crying emoji, upset emoji, shocked emoji. Jay, welcome to boxing. You'll get your heart broken in this sport. Dude, this is the sport that will break your heart. Jay, if you're a young boxing fan, run now. Run now and watch badminton. Leave while you can, Jay. Don't be like me, who is 40 years old and is fully invested. Run while you can. Nick Mandelberg says, always had the feeling Fury is superstitious and can get spooked. Maybe something doesn't feel right for him. Don't know. Remember his dad done a sit down with BT Sports and was very upset about this fight even being made. He said, you need to come back home. I can't do his voice. I was gonna try. Can't do it. And reassess. You can't just accept. Who knows? Who knows what's happened? Silva, what does that say? Silvestri Salome, whatever it is. This was meant to be the biggest event in boxing this year. Turns out to be the massive disaster, complete trash from Aaron. For me, the biggest event was Billy Joe Saunders Canelo, but this was going to be a huge event as well. This was supposed to be. What's this one? Maestro Boxing says Caleb Plant doesn't seem to want $10 million for a Canelo fight. See? You see what I'm talking about? Shout out to Maestro as well. Knows he's boxing from the States. This is what I'm talking about. And look, apologies if I'm coming across as some sort of Scrooge, because go out and get your money. But like, you're not going to convince me that Caleb Plant thinks he's worth more than $10 million a fight. You're not going to convince me. And this is the problem. And this is why a lot of the big fights don't happen. People will price themselves out of fights. Like, you know what it is? It's like Caleb knows that Canelo wants to clean up. It's like, okay, this is my belt. My belt's worth 10 million. Now, I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't even know anymore, peeps. I do not know what to tell you. Lewis Moore, super chat. Appreciate, dude. Ben makes a good point. If we complain about Davis Barrios or Ruiz Arreola or Chisora Parker, then we simply shouldn't buy it. Probably the reason DAZN operates on subscriptions. Pay-per-views are saturated. Fact. That's the only way. If a pay-per-view is so bad, do not buy it. If you do not buy it, they will eventually come around to the we can't put on this anymore. Like, look at the numbers. Remember we used to get 400,000? Shit, we only got 80. We can't put on that crap. They're not accepting it. We've just become acceptors. That's not even a word. Just made it up. That's what we've become, though. We're like, we'll take it. We'll take it. Michael Poe, super chat. Again, guys, really appreciate this. Super chat. Thank you so much. Aaron and Heyman holding it back. Nobody else. Fury playing along. I'll say this, though. Heyman's putting on some fights for PBC. I will say that, though. Like, especially in the 154-pound division, we're getting some good fights. I'm liking what he's doing at the 154-pound division. There was a time when Al Heyman tried to sign everyone. Do you remember that? Must have been about 6-7 years ago, maybe a bit longer. He wanted to sign every talent in the world, and he wanted to make a PBC belt. So he wanted almost to do what the UFC have done. He wanted to get rid of all the sanctioning bodies, all of the dodgy belts, and make his own thing, a PBC belt. It didn't quite work out, but he was close to doing it. It felt like he was making a signing every week, and then it just somehow stopped and fizzled out. James Burrell says they're getting paid too much to be hungry at the top level. Not saying they don't deserve it, just that they are hungry. That's kind of my belief as well. I kind of believe that, and maybe I'm being wrong with it. Maybe, once we get to the studio, we're able to interview fighters and get their point of view and their side of things. But I kind of do feel like that. Like, where's the hunger? If you're getting paid 10 million here and 5 million there, and you haven't even done work yet, where's the hunger? Like, why chase the risky big fights if you're Gervonta Davis and you're getting paid, I heard, could be wrong this figure, $5 to $7 million for fighting Barrios? If you're getting paid $5 to $7 million to fight Barrios, how much is he going to want to get paid to fight Teofimo Lopez? Answer that question. If you're getting paid, and look, that figure could be a bit more, by the way, but I'm hearing around 5 to 7. If you're getting paid $5 to $7 million for fighting Barrios, and it done 220,000 pay-per-view buys, How much is he gonna want to fight Teofimo? And then it's a case of Teofimo either has to come onto their network or they go over. He's gonna want 25 million easy to fight Teofimo. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. Or maybe I exaggerate 25. He's maybe gonna want 15 to 20. He ain't getting paid that. So that fight ain't happening. So for all of you that are thinking you're gonna see Teofimo Lopez, Deontay Davis anytime soon, sorry to disappoint you. Sorry to disappoint you. What's this one? The United States produces better fighters in the UK, and that's just facts. Yeah, maybe because the United States is 100 times bigger than the UK. maybe the pool is a bit bigger. Just maybe. Maestro says the boxing fan is the battered spouse, and that's kind of ironic. Kind of sad, that statement, but it's kind of true, isn't it? And that's sad to even say that, but obviously that's the story, isn't it, of the battered spouse. They keep on going back, don't they? You keep on going back. You hope it's going to change. You keep on going back. You accept. You keep on going back, and in the end, you get burnt. In the end, it never quite works out, does it? I still have faith in this sport because you know what? Every so often, it produces a gem that makes up for all the bullshit. Every so often, when you think you've hit rock bottom, boxing goes, ding, have that. And you're like, oh, thank you. It's almost like you're thirsty and you get like you're dying and you're in the desert and you think you see a little water patch, and boxing will do that to you. It will just keep you in. When you want to get out, it fucking keeps you in. It drags you in. Fuckers. All right, guys, another 5 minutes. Tyson Fury's dad wanted him to pull out, and he pulled out because they know Wilder ain't messing around this time. Nah, Rich, I'm not having that. I read it out, Rich, because, you know, I'm happy for you to send this in, but I'm not having that. Tyson Fury ain't scared of no Deontay Wilder. Ain't messing around means nothing. Tyson Fury is just simply better. Look at this one. From Bafua Owusu says, Josh Taylor versus Gervonta Davis at 140. Stop dreaming. Do you not get it? Ain't happening. Stop dreaming. That ain't happening. Like, in what world? That ain't happening. Gervonta Davis is not fighting Josh Taylor anytime soon. At least 2 years. At least. Daniel Phillips or Phipps says Addy and friends in the new studio. I actually went to the studio last night. I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram. I put my Instagram up so you can follow me on Instagram. I put a little clip up with me and the builder. I think it's Addy.OLADIPO. I put a little clip up of me and the builder going through a couple of things. There's my Instagram. There's loads to do, but we're excited. We're starting. So we're soundproofing one of the walls first. We're soundproofing like 2 walls. We're soundproofing the ceiling. We're carpeting the floor. And the other one, we're going to put a curtain and a curtain, but we're going to have soundproof behind it, but cheaper soundproof. Like the walls that you're going to see, it's going to be expensive soundproof. But I can't afford to do all of it. So we're going to put some real cheap soundproof, and then we're going to curtain it. So just to add an extra layer. But yeah, we got loads of ideas, by the way. Loads of ideas. We're all excited. I just saw something from Jacob. Jacob Quick says, Ade's angry today. That's boxing for you. You know me. Normally I'm cool. I haven't done like an Ade rant for a while. Like, this is Friday night, man. I ain't supposed to be here on a Friday night doing this shit. You know, I got work tomorrow as well. I should be chilling out, you know, having a little glass of some good old whiskey. Instead, they done this to me. Man. All right. Ease head slap. Talking about frauds in boxing, Gary Russell Jr. Geez, that's a whole nother video. Gary Russell Jr. is bloody hell. Man. What's this one? From Anu Lu Aya. Is it Aya? I think it is. Hey, as a sports person, do you think the postponement, poor sales, lack of interest, etc., has something to do with the football and the upcoming Olympic Games? Yes. Not just that, but I do think people's eyes aren't on the sport. Not just football over here in Euro 2020. Let's not forget Copa America final going on right now. Brazil taking Argentina tomorrow. Then you've obviously got the Olympic Games, which is massive, right? Huge. And then you've got to kind of juggle in the UFC events as well. Conor McGregor fighting this weekend. Nobody's talking about Wilder Fury. Like, we're talking about it now because of this. Prior to it, we weren't really chatting about it either. So maybe there's that. It just doesn't have it's not got the same feel as what it did the first and second time round. Kippy Drones and Car says 2 England players got COVID and they were playing again a week later. Why is Fury out till bloody October when he has had a vaccine? It's getting ridiculous. The actual player didn't get COVID. They were just next to someone who tested positive, and then that to self-isolate. But you're right. But the reason, I think I mentioned this earlier, the reason that Fury isn't fighting until October, or that's a rumored date, is because they just don't have a weekend available. It's not that simple, right? I mean, this isn't fighting in a car park. They've got to look at, okay, is there a venue available next week? Okay, no, someone else is taking it. And not only that, but okay, what's on next week? What else is on? Is college football on? Is college basketball on? Remember, these things take big eyes off the sporting of boxing in America. College football and college basketball, I mean, I'm not American, but I even know that everyone watches those things. And then you look and think, okay, is there a UFC event on? So you're looking at other sports competing against you, and then you're looking at, okay, is the venue even free? You have to book that venue. I'm guessing you have to kind of put a deposit down for it or secure it weeks in advance. Weeks. So yeah, I don't know. No, this is not true. From Warpfire. See, I love this kind of stuff. Tank didn't make 5 million. He made around 3.7 million. If you know how pay-per-views are split, Tank got a guarantee, and then he got pay-per-view on top. That's what happened, and that's why the 5 million, I said 5 to 7 million. So Tank got a guarantee in that fight. Yeah, like most boxers, unless they are absolutely guaranteed to do crazy pay-per-view numbers, will have a guarantee. You've got to have a guarantee because, okay, you don't. I say you don't have a guarantee, and the pay-per-view it won't. But just hear me out for a second. Does 1,000? Okay, no, okay. Terence Crawford versus Victor Postal done 50,000 pay-per-view buys. Where's money? You've got to have a guarantee. And by the way, Bob Arum made a loss on that. And Bob Arum, I think, talks about that. That's why he continually kind of digs at Terence Crawford. You've got to have a guarantee first, and then it's a case of guarantee, and then some of the pay-per-view. So trust me when I say Tank made a bit more than a 3.7. Stephen Dodd says another top live tonight. Adding, thank you, man. Guys, I really appreciate everyone coming through on the lives, man. I enjoy them. Just a bit of fun in it. Just a bit of fun. We'll read out a couple most of the time. 30 minutes past, a couple more minutes. Just two, I mean, Fury and Wilder 3 won't do much. And why this shenanigans of Sherry being sick ticket sales, or she is sick. Michael, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm going to be honest, I don't understand what you're saying. This is a good point. From What Fire, Heyman owns 147, 154 majority of the belts, hence why he does well in them divisions. Easy to make in-house fights like that. And this is what he wanted to do for the whole sport. This is what he was trying to do when he was trying to sign up a lot of the fighters. It was incredible. It didn't quite work out, but I guess this shows that when he does have the fighters, he will make the in-house fights. He will do it. And so maybe it wasn't a bad thing that he was trying to do at the time. I think a lot of people got upset by it. All right, 2 seconds. Gareth Craig says I didn't buy Chisora Parker. There's a limit. I did. I done the bloody live watch along for it. Jacob Quiggs, have you got a Euro final ticket? Are they not yet? I don't have one yet. There are some people trying to sort it for me. These are influencers that work with a lot of sponsors that are trying to get me a ticket. So I'm doing a show. So TalkSport basically do their live broadcast from Box Park on Wembley Way. So it's about a minute from Wembley Stadium before the event. I'm part of the live broadcast, which is very, very good. So I'm doing a build-up show from 1 to 4. Then I chuck it over to another presenter. Darren Bent's doing a show from 4 to 6. I'm going to stay in Box Park after my show because everyone's coming down, like Stormzy's coming down. A lot of people that are going to Wembley go into Box Park first. So Rio Ferdinand, everyone comes down. So it's a good place to be. And then I'm hoping I'll get a ticket from a few people there. So not yet, but we still have hope. We still have hope. This is interesting. Plant's biggest payday is 900,000. I'm guessing that's dollars. He wants more than 10 times his highest payday. Shaking my effing head. Again, my point exactly. My point exactly. And look, go and get your money. If you think that's what you're worth, go and get what you're worth. But you're clearly not worth that. If your highest paycheck is 900,000, let's just say $1 million for argument's sake, and you're asking for 10 because you're fighting Canelo, why don't you take, well, sorry, he's asking for more than 10. Why don't you take the 10? If you're that confident, beat Canelo. In the rematch, you get 20. In the rematch, I'll say it again, you get 20. Andy Ruiz took, Luis Ortiz was offered the AJ fight, didn't want to take it. Andy Ruiz, I'll take that. What the fuck? 5 million or whatever it was, 4 million. Beat AJ. How much did he make in the rematch? How much did he make in the rematch? 15, 20? It's like a lot of fighters don't seem confident. It's almost like they want the biggest amount of money to step in with Canelo because it's almost like we're not going to win. Whereas I'm thinking, you take his head off, almost like Highlander, you get all the power. You are then the fucking, if not the A side, you are very close B side in the rematch. They don't want it. Guys, look, it's been fun. I am, Leo's just tuned in. Leon Canteen just tuned in. Fury is a common denominator between Wilder, Cabial, Joshua, Wilder, but you're skimming over the circumstances of each fight not happening. The fact is that Leon, he's still a common denominator. There are reasons, and by the way, it's not just that, Leon. As I've just been, someone just reminded me, Ustinov. There are others as well where fights that should have happened, and for some reason or another, they haven't. And the common denominator is Tyson Fury. Now, there are extenuating circumstances as to why either of those didn't happen, but they didn't happen. Guys, peace and love. Thank you to everyone that has joined in. I wish I could do 5 more minutes, but I'm tired and I want to drink. And I might watch a movie. And that's enough. Peace, peeps.